The internet. You never know what you're gonna get. We have a video here called New Video Resurfaced of Jada Humiliating Will Smith. So before we jump into this, I wanted to just mention like my stance on everything that happened at the slappening. A lot of people were hitting me up just after the slappening at the Oscars, wondering what I thought. They were, hitting me up in the comment sections of my videos or talking to me through chats on the live streams. Jaby, what'd you think of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock? Now, initially, we all thought it was a punch, but then we saw the frame-by-frame analysis, and hits! It was a slap. We all know this now. The truth of the matter is, the reason why I didn't really make a video about it is because it took me several days to figure out how I felt. It was this weird, tumultuous gray area because I grew up watching Will Smith on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, in the films that followed, and his music after Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, I was a big, big fan. I've also listened to him talk. He's a very inspiring guy. The icing on the cake for that particular aspect of Will Smith is I got to watch him talk in person at YouTube Space LA. He was doing a promo for Gemini Man. It was him, Clive Owen, Jerry Bruckheimer, and I just got to see his infectious energy live, like in front of me. It's exciting. Like, he's an exciting dude. He's very inspiring, and to see him lose his cool like that on stage at the Oscars at this prestigious event, I was very confused, to say the least. And the reason I was confused was because I wasn't sure if this was a guy who just thought he was invincible and can get away with whatever he wants, if he was just under a lot of pressure, if this was the straw that broke the camel's back, if it was some weird thing between him and Jada Pinkett Smith. Who knows, except for Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, except for their inner circle. In any case, at the end of the day, I decided for myself what Will Smith did was wrong. Chris Rock told a joke. When you go to the Oscars, you can expect that jokes will be told at your expense. Irrespective of how crass you might think the joke is, you have to expect that you might get made fun of, and that's okay. We all get made fun of at this event. I mean, that would be my thinking going into it anyway. I know that a lot of people feel like it was grossly insensitive and that it was wrong for Chris Rock to tell that joke. I don't care. He shouldn't have gotten slapped. It's that simple. Now to this. As a result of the slappening, a lot of conversation has been happening as to why. Why did Will Smith feel compelled to do this? And there's all kinds of theories and opinions out there. I watched the Flagrant podcast, or is it Flagrant 2, with Akash Singh and Andrew Schultz, really break this down, at least from their comedic angle. They brought up some interesting points. Now, they did it in their own crass way, which I appreciate their brutal honesty, them being relentless and unabashedly themselves. I appreciate that, even though a lot of people might find it offensive or too much. Naturally, because of that, like, I became even more curious. I'm like, wait, so what is going on with their relationship? And now we have this video. So without any further preamble, let's watch this.
You know, Esther Perel is coming to the table. She's going to be at the red table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me.
Oh my goodness.
If you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Because she don't just...
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch us stare at the red table because she's helped us a lot. Can't you tell?
That's public video. Obviously, this is one clip. The thing I always try to remind myself is I'm looking at one piece of data, and there's a lot of pieces of data that most of us will never see. Again, the only people who really know what's going on with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith is Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Obviously, they might have therapists, they might have friends, family. They might have some insight that is much better than what the public knows, of course. There's a lot of data that we don't have. Now, that aside, looking at that clip in isolation, in a vacuum, I'm like, whoa, that really sucks. Because he's right. His social media, that is his bread and butter. That's one of the things he talked about at the Gemini Man press conference, actually. While I did not like Gemini Man, I understand Will Smith's thinking in that he has this legacy. He has to think about that legacy every time he chooses a project going forward. That's a different conversation entirely now after the slappening, but I thought it was really cool to hear him talk about that, like, almost like outside of himself, going, okay, this is the Will Smith that people know. And he's very aware of that. And he goes, okay, now how do I transcend that into the next stage of my life, into the rest of my career? I have to make sure I don't squander this. What he was saying is very true to himself as far as I can tell. He values his social media presence. He values the image, the persona that he has, as I think anyone who's in the spotlight probably should, but I think he takes it extra seriously because that has a lot of value. For her to just start recording him and he's like, yo, that's not cool, and then it somehow gets posted anyway. I mean, I'm imagining that got posted by her, and that's not cool, if that's what happened.
The day after her 37th birthday, I hired a team to orchestrate her 40th birthday. I hired a documentary team. I traced Mommy's family roots. Her 40th birthday was going to be my thing.
It was going to be a splash.
It was going to be a splash. Mary J. Blige performed. I debuted the film, all of that. It was going to be the thing that lifted her out of this midlife crisis, and it was going to be my deepest, most beautiful proclamation of love. And she's told me that the party was the most ridiculous display of my ego. Crushed. Right?
I was talking to someone very, very close to me recently about that very topic. This person told me that he had read Will Smith's book, and Will Smith talked about that in his book. We didn't see the party. We didn't see how Will Smith was acting that night. We don't have all the details. Again, I just always have to preface with that. But at a cursory glance, that looks pretty fucking bad. That looks really awful. He set this up 3 years in advance. That's some really deep consideration, and he went through this extraneous effort of like providing her the most epic gift possible that most people would never get to provide to their significant other. I don't know how she arrives at saying that it's a massive display of his ego. I haven't heard her side of that conversation, obviously, so that just seems kind of shitty. Just so y'all know, these two clips were posted on the Poor Man's Podcast Reacts, and that's where I was reacting to his video that he posted. There seems to be this notion floating around the internet right now that Jada Pinkett Smith is poison for Will Smith. It's all her fault. It's all her doing. We have to remember, it takes two to tango. He has decided to participate in that relationship with her. He has decided to stay with her for whatever his reasons are. We don't know, but he has made the choice to stay. Whatever you think Will Smith should do, they both decided to stay in this relationship. What this feels like is an attempt to at least somewhat absolve Will Smith of what he did, or at least better understand where he's coming from. Irrespective, it was wrong that he got on that stage and slapped Chris Rock, and I think nobody knows that better than Will Smith. I think that Will Smith is more traumatized by what Will Smith did than Chris Rock. I feel 99% confident that that's the case. Chris Rock's career did this, and Will Smith's career is doing this right now. We'll see what happens. With that in mind, I think that Will Smith is definitely way more traumatized. I'm sure it's something that like is kind of in his rote memory that is playing over and over again. Like, how could I do that? How could I be so foolish? And of course, all the memes. I'm sure he's trying so hard not to see any of that stuff, even though it's going to be coming for years to come. Like the Michael Jordan crying meme. Like this is not going anywhere. He's going to have to deal with this for years. Irrespective of how I feel about these clips, Will Smith stayed with her. He decided to work it out. That's his choice at the end of the day. So whatever kind of bad vibes she might have given him that inspired him to get on that stage and slap Chris Rock, I don't care. He decided to stay with that person that made him feel that way. I'm not saying what she's doing is right. I'm not saying what he did is right. I'm not saying either of them are right or wrong, actually. I'm saying they both decided to stay. So whatever you feel about, you know, who's to blame or what, he decided to stay in that relationship. There's a part of my thought process that wonders if that's like victim shaming or victim blaming in some capacity. I don't know for sure. I just try not to ever pin someone's actions on someone else, is all I'm trying to say at the end of the day. If you're in a relationship where you don't feel like you're being treated very well, I know how hard it is to leave a relationship where it's toxic or you feel like that person's not good for you or treating you with respect or valuing you or just putting you down. I know what it feels like to be in that kind of situation. And the hardest thing to do is to walk away. But if you don't walk away, you're just giving more time to this person who doesn't value you on the level that you value them. No one can make you take action but you at the end of the day. It is really difficult, especially if you're someone who's very caring and compassionate and you're really rooting for the relationship and that person that you're with. And it's especially more complicated when you got kids. Add to the fact that Will Smith has been dealing with an onslaught of memery and jokes played at his expense for the last several years. I do feel for him. I do feel bad that he has to deal with all that, but I'm not going to pin his actions on someone else. Coming back to my point that I was trying to make a moment ago, no one can help you leave but you. No one can take that action except for you at the end of the day. Will Smith decided to stay. And if you're in that kind of a situation, you got to ask yourself if you want to end up being someone who walks on stage and slaps a colleague in front of 30 million people. Obviously, you know, not so many of us are going to be in that kind of a circumstance, but the point stands to reason, it can make you do crazy things. Love, it's not love that makes you do crazy things. It's being in a relationship you should have probably ended a while ago that might make you do crazy things. Love will also make you do crazy things. But I think that was bad timing on Will Smith's part to start saying that at his Oscar acceptance speech. Anyway, I think we've beaten this horse to death. Y'all, thanks so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that. Give me your insight in the comments below. I'm Jaby Koay. Peace out.